we up? Are we up? I think we're up and running. Let's see if we can get some people in here. Let's see if we can get some people in here. Don't mind me, I'm making coffee. Because seriously, what brew day is complete without some good beverages? So I'm going to make some good coffee. Good coffee coming. Bingo, coffee started. Let's get this party started. Yes, I'm a dork. Have no fear, I am just getting the area over here clear so I can do a good home brew. I can bring this over here so you guys can actually watch me brew stuff up close. I'm just clearing out the dish strainer, and then I will move that. I'll set up the laptop over there and we'll get going. This stream is going to be going for quite some time, guys, so have no fear. You're not going to miss any, well, you're not going to miss out on seeing at least some of this, because this is probably going to be about a 4-hour or better process, so I'll be here for a while. It's one of the reasons why I'm making some good coffee. Hope you guys are all having a productive day. I am. As some of you guys may have seen earlier, I got out to the post office. I sent off a couple of packages. One of them went to Jay Young. That was a license plate and a little note for him. He and I had discussed that. Well, I had discussed it with him previously in an email. And I also sent a package off to Justin Dow. That one included a motorcycle license plate and a truck license plate. And then I also had some tools in there for the technicians of tomorrow. Hopefully those will go to somebody who could really use them. I was going to be brewing outside, and then it looked like it was going to rain. Now it looks like the sun is coming out, but I'm already set up in here, so screw it. We're going to be doing it inside. So let me show you my brewing setup real quick. Well, what I've got partially anyway. Over here, that is the kettle that I'm going to be using. That is an 11-gallon kettle. It has got a steaming basket inside. I'm going to be using that because I'm going to be doing all grain brewing. And I'm doing the brew in a bag method. I'm using this mesh bag here. It's a nylon mesh bag. And that is how I'm going to be mashing all the grains. So you take all of the grain, which is right here. Here's all the grain, 12.5 pounds. That is all going to go inside of that nylon mesh bag. It's going to go into the kettle. I will heat about 4 gallons of water up to 140, well, I'll heat it up to about 160 degrees or so. Pour all the grains in. That'll bring the temperature down to about 148, 149 degrees. It will sit there for about an hour for the mash process, which is the enzymes in the grains start to convert all of the long chain starches to simple sugars, to smaller chain simple sugars, because the yeast can't eat the long chain carbohydrates. They can't eat the long chain starches, so they have to eat a smaller chain sugar. And the smaller the chain of the sugar, the easier it is for the yeast to eat it, and the more alcohol is produced per volume. The way to change the length of the sugar chains is to watch the temperature that you're doing your mash at. If you do a mash at a higher temperature, which most guys do, say between 152 and 155 degrees, you're going to get more long chain sugars, so you'll get a sweeter beer that will have slightly lower alcohol content. Very common for like lagers and stouts and porters and that kind of thing. If you want to make something like a pale ale or an IPA that has a higher alcohol per volume, but has less body to it, it's a lot lighter on the tongue, then you mash at a slightly lower temperature, and the grains will put out more short chain sugars and it will ferment farther. So anyway, I'm going to start putting some water in this kettle. I'm going to start getting it up to temperature, and I'll be back in a moment. Get you guys set up over here so maybe you can actually see what's going on. Let's see, how's that work? Maybe turn the volume up a little bit. Hello, hello. A little bit more of an echo. Hold on. Hello, hello. That's a little better. Cool. That's what I will use to strain all of the liquid out of that. Sorry about that, guys. This is the way we get the water, get the water, get the water. There's 2 gallons. Just about 2 more of those and we'll be good to go. Nobody in here yet, but I'm going to be here for a few more hours, so hopefully we'll get some people. A little bit less water. That should about do it. Keep that one over here because I'm going to need that later. Let's see what we got here. So I'm going to need about another 5 gallons. That's 3.9 that I just put in there. I'm going to need about another 5.1 gallons to do the sparge later. I'll show you guys that, and I'll talk about what's going on with all of that. Right now I need to get this up to about 162.5 degrees. I've got a little candy thermometer that I'll use to monitor the temperature of that and make sure it's getting up to temperature. In the meantime, I'm going to make some coffee. Nobody in here yet. I'm waiting on you guys. You're the ones that asked for this. Of course, I'm doing it in the middle of the day when nobody's available because that's really the only time I can do this. You need to go in the trash. Sure, what that thing said. That smells really good. Okay, so I'm going to go over what I got here for ingredients, guys. I'm going to mix all this stuff together here. This original kit was this original batch here is a Spotted Cow clone. That is it's a multi-grain cream ale. It's a really good ale. But what I want to do is a Belgian style IPA, so I'm using this as a base, and I'm going to be adding some more stuff to it. So all in all, this is going to have 11.5 pounds of 2-row malt. I've got a pound of aromatic malt, a pound of Crystal 60, that's going to add some color and a little bit of that caramel and maybe chocolate flavor. I've got a half a pound of carapils, quarter pound of flaked barley, and a quarter pound of flaked maize, or aka flaked corn. So that's going to bulk the grain bill up to, let me see, 10 and a half, 11 and a half, 13 and a half, about 14 and a half pounds worth of grain total. Which is going to bump it up to, it's probably going to end up being about like roughly 6.5%, maybe a little bit more when all is said and done, which is, you know, fairly, I guess fairly mild, you could say, for an IPA, because I've seen IPAs go fairly high. But 6.5 is a good reasonable number. If I wanted to, I also have some corn sugar up in the cabinet here that I can add, and that will just add a little bit of a, it'll dry the beer out a little bit and add a little bit of a bump to the alcohol content without adding really a whole lot of flavor or aromatics. It's just kind of an easy way to bump a recipe if necessary, an easy and cheap way to bump a recipe if you want to. Some guys don't like it because it can dry the, really, like I said, it can dry the beer out, so it can make it a little bit harsher on the tongue, I guess you could say. This is the aromatic malt. This stuff really smells pretty incredible. Let's open that up. Oh, God, that smells good. It's almost like a cross between like a really, really high quality cereal and honey and maybe a little molasses. Oh, God, that smells incredible. Adds just a tiny bit of color, and it adds a reasonable amount of flavor, but the most of what it adds is like that aromatic, that scent that you can really get in the air. Oh, God, it smells incredible. And when this is all done, what some guys will do is you can You can also use some of the grains out of this as like, you know, you can have a hot cereal while the actual brew is going on, because this stuff is perfectly good for you. I mean, all it is barley. Oh, that caramel malt smells really good. Got just a tiny, tiny bit of toast character with some caramel smell, some caramel scent to it. Really good. And it's going to add, like I said, it's going to add a nice color to it as well. So it's going to be almost like a darker amber color. So when the time comes and this water gets up to about 162 roughly degrees, I'll start stirring this in slowly. And then what you want to do is when you're stirring in the grains, you want to stir it in, you want to pour it in slowly and make sure you stir, because you don't want any clumps to get in there. They call it doughing in, and you don't want to get any dough balls in there. Because if the dough balls get in there, the water doesn't fully get to the grain in the center of it, and you don't fully extract all the sugars and all of the flavor from that. So your beer ends up being not as efficient, and you end up spending more money to make what you want, which you and I both know, not good. God, that's good coffee. I should plug this phone in too. One of the benefits of having outlets all over the place. I can plug stuff in wherever I need to. Still the only guy in here. That's kind of disappointing. Okay, now I'm going to need my scale. So what I need to do now is I need to measure out some of my Cascade hops, because I'm not going to be using the whole batch of Cascade hops that I have. But this particular recipe, I'm putting about 2 ounces of Cascade hops in at the beginning, and I've got probably 10 ounces here. Maybe a little bit more, and like I said, I don't want to use all of these, because that would just, if you put all of them in, it would just make the beer completely undrinkable. It would be so bitter and cloying that like you wouldn't even be able to get it past your lips. And why bother brewing a beer if you can't drink it? So for a scale, I have got a Hornady powder scale that I picked up back when I was reloading 9mm. Incredibly accurate. It's got gradations of 0.005 grams. So this thing is really, really minutely accurate, guys. It's one of the reasons I like brewing. I love the smell of hops. Four ounces of hops just at the beginning of the brew. That will go in just as I'm starting the boil. Actually, I may even put that in as a first work hop, which is when you've got all of your sugars done and you've sparged out all of the sugars out of the grains. Just as you turn the heat up to try and bring it up to temperature to boil, you pour the hops in at that point and you get slightly better hop utilization, and it smooths out the bitterness a little bit rather than being so sharp. It's a little bit more rounded, a little bit smoother. All the Cascade hops are measured out. In fact, all the hops are measured out. Good. I think I'm going to bump this recipe up, guys. Let's make this a double IPA. I'm going to add about a pound of corn sugar. I'm going to bump up the hops at the beginning by about another 2 ounces. So original gravity should be about 1.078. Final gravity should be somewhere around 1.019, so about a 7.5% beer, 7.6%. IBUs should be up around 62.9 for bitterness. Nice smooth double IPA. Just a little bit of a kick in the ass. I like it. No wasting of the hops. There we go. Hops all measured out. This is going to be good. Yes. Thermometer time. We're up to about 120 degrees, so that's got a little more time left to go. Still nobody here. almost up to max temperature, guys. Almost there. Guys, when you come in, please make sure to click the like, subscribe, comment, share this video if you really like it. If you really dig what I do, please over here click the little bell that will give you notifications when things are going new on my channel. Whenever I post new content, whenever I put up a live stream, whenever I post a live video, it'll give you a little ping, it'll give you a little notification that I'm putting up new content. So if you would, I would really appreciate that, guys, because it would kind of support my channel. It would get my name out there a little bit more. Hopefully allow me to improve the content some. Because the more you guys like what I do, the more YouTube shows you what I do, and the more revenue I make, and the more everybody gets to see everything cool. Because YouTube algorithms right now are awful, so we want to try and do whatever we can to improve that. Just about there, guys. About another 2.5 degrees. As soon as that happens, I'll put the mesh bag in, start pouring the grains, stirring them, and then it's go time. There it is, guys. Time to start doughing in. Now comes the hard part. I think that I'm going to get myself a bowl to make this easier on myself. I think this will make things a little easier. Rather than trying to dump the whole bag. I have done the whole dump the whole bag at once thing before, and that is a pain in the ass. Dumping the whole bag at once, it's a pain to lift, it's really awkward, the grain goes all over the place. You get a bunch of clumps. It just never turns out the way you want it to, you know? getting there, guys, a little bit at a time. Just so there's no misconception for you guys, brewing beer, just like anything, is a labor of love, and to do it right takes time. So I will probably be streaming on here for about another 3 to 4 hours. Oh yeah, starting to see some of that flaked maize in here. Getting down to the bottom of the grain bag. Oh yeah, you can definitely see some of that flaked maize content in here, right or in here. Right down to the nitty-gritty, guys. That's it for the grain. That's all in there. See a little bit of a ball there, a little dough ball. And that's the thing you really want to avoid, guys, is you really want to avoid the dough balls. Because like I said, it really reduces the efficiency of your mash. You're not getting all of the stuff out of the grains that you want to. there for now. Get the lid. Double check my temperature. Perfect. So now we'll set a timer for an hour. We'll let that sit for an hour. There's my timer. And we'll let that sit and mash for an hour. In the meantime, I will start getting some water ready for sparging. And again, sparging is when you're just trying to get all of the sugar out of all of the sugars out of the grain that's left. So I'll use that strain basket. I'll set it up with a couple of pieces of wood to hover over the top of the kettle, and then I use the sparge water to slowly wash all of the sugars out of the grains. And once that's done, then you have what's called wort, that's your first wort, which is the unfermented beer at the beginning of your brew, and it doesn't have any of your hops in it. So I'm going to add some hops in for first wort hopping. Again, like I said, that's going to add a nice rounded quality. It'll smooth out the bitterness so that it's not quite as harsh. Because you and I both know that there are some beers out there that give you a bit of beer face, and I don't want to do that. I want to have a very smooth, drinkable beer, even though it's got a higher hop content and a higher IBU content. I wanted to have a smoother bitterness rather than a sharper bitterness. So right now I'm going to get my other kettle. I'm going to start putting some water on and heating it up for the sparge. I will be right back. Alright, there's kettle number 2. It's about a 5-gallon kettle. I need a little more than 5 gallons of water at a specific temperature. So I'm going to put in about 4 gallons into this. Actually about 4.5. And I'll heat it up a little bit hotter than I need. And then I'll just get the rest out of the tap, and that will sort of even out the temperature of it. Like I said, guys, this is a long process. It's a labor of love. There we go. Actually, I'm going to make that hot water. Wait until I'm close for that. In the meantime, I'm going to check some emails and stuff. Emails and stuff. We'll see what we got going on. Oh no, the free agency market is not good for Colin Kaepernick. How awful. Couldn't have happened to a nicer guy. House is starting to smell really, really good, guys. I need more coffee.
Just going, Captain Arthur. And at some point, you're going to be called back to Central City to fight it. So you need to know that while you and your team have been in the temporal zone, I made a choice that affected the timeline. As you know, whenever you alter the past, those changes affect the present and get compounded in the future. When you return, you will be in the new timeline I created where everyone's past and everyone's future has been affected, including yours. When you come back, don't trust anything or anyone, not even me. Where did you get this from?
About another half an hour, guys. More mashing to go. Isn't this exciting? Oh man, does that smell good. It's like candy. Of course you are. Sorry, random Highlander reference. One hour and 37 minutes into this, and still not one single person has come in. Fantastic.
was locked up in Countersville. I thought the Southside was gonna fight. I knocked out the Southside teardrop. 2013, I knocked out a hero brother. We called him the motherfucker. We left hooks. That motherfucker was laying things down before I sit down, country boy. The fight me. I'm on probation. King of Alabama. Your best right now before you come and lay down the fucking shit. You come here and knock you the fuck out. No excuses, punk.
"13 more minutes, guys. Then something will happen, I promise."
subscriber, leave a comment on this video. I'll announce a new winner at the end of this too. But if you're wondering why they released this teaser of all things, like obviously we expected Electro to come back at some point because of all the resurrection that was happening during Daredevil Season 2. But it's been about a year since that show ended, so what an appropriate anniversary to bring her back. But in the comics, she had been killed by Bullseye and was later brought back to life by the Hand. So this is all from the comics, even though they change a lot of things about the way the Hand works and the way they portray him on the different TV shows. So you start out with Nobu's faction. That's the first version of the Hand that we see. We see him come back to life. We learn through Stick's character that he's done it many times in the past. So each time you see him pop up, like after Season 1, he comes back during Season 2, his face is a little more scarred up. Then at the end of Season 2, he chops his head off just to be sure, stay dead this time. So they're always really mysterious about how long-lived people are because Stick is part of the chain
5 more minutes, guys. 5.
It's just fucking crazy, man. I mean, everybody, you know, you hear people saying out there, like, oh, you know,
Stuff and things, guys. Stuff and things. God damn, that's heavy. All right, time to do some sparging. So here we go. Just so you guys know, there are far more efficient forms of sparging than this. To do that, I need to get my mash tun all put back together. My mash tun is currently in pieces, so I need to get that thing back together, and then I'll get more efficient with the sparging process. But in the meantime, this is what I got. I will say, however, that this is the best that this method has worked out to me so far. I usually end up with a whole bunch of drips all over the floor, then I gotta wash the floor because it'll get all sticky because of the sugars, but this time it seems to all be going back into the kettle, which is great. That's exactly what I want. That's gonna increase my efficiency. I'm not gonna lose anything. I wish you guys could be here to smell this. It smells so good. This is a slow process, guys. Sprinkle, sprinkle, sprinkle. You don't want to pour too fast. pour too fast, you leave behind a whole bunch of sugars in the grains, and you'll end up with a really, really weak beer. Not just in alcohol content, but also in flavor and in feel. The whole thing will just, it'll be like drinking water. Like imagine taking Budweiser, doubling the volume of it just by adding water, and it's probably about how this would taste if you rush this process. Only the hops would be out of control because you wouldn't have any sugars to counteract the bitterness of the hops. I get the feeling that this is going to be a really good beer, guys. About 2.5 more gallons of water, so I'm about halfway through the sparging process now. Trying to get all those wonderful sugars out of this. All the sugars, all the flavor. I know this looks really boring, guys, but it really is an enjoyable process for me. I mean, again, just like anything that you would want to do for fun, doing it right makes it enjoyable, you know? Doing it the right way. And anything worth doing is worth doing the right way. Definitely one of those things that you want to take just a little bit more time, a little bit of extra time. Do it right. Just a little bit of patience, you know. Of course, I'm doing this as an all-grain method. You guys can also do this with extract, where they've already gotten all of the sugar out of the grains and it just comes in like either a liquid or a powder form. Then you don't have to go through this whole mashing process of getting all the sugars out of the grains. But on the flip side of that, you don't get to be quite as creative. It kind of limits your style options, you know, because there are only certain types of extract that they make, and really there are only certain types of extract that they can make. Like you're not going to find an extract aromatic malt, you know. So you're not really going to be able to make a realistic Belgian style beer out of extract. Or you can, but it's a lot more difficult. So the extracts kind of limit your creativity, you know, and I kind of see this in a way as a creative outlet. Because there's a lot more beer than just Budweiser or Coors Light. You know, I know a lot of people, there's a small minority of people who are into craft beers, but if you look at the growing number of craft breweries that there are, and the shrinking number of regular breweries, you'll see that people are starting to realize that there's a lot more to beer than just blasé lager in a can, you know. Craft beers are maybe with a little bit of love, they take a lot more time, but you're going to get a lot more variety too. I think a lot of it has to do, I think, with people's view on life and how quickly they do things and how quickly they feel they have to do things. I'm a guy who appreciates taking a little bit of time in things. I have a lot of patience. So I really appreciate taking my time to do things the right way and taking my time to enjoy things, to appreciate them. Like when I drink a beer, I'm not just drinking a beer to get hammered, you know, I'm not just drinking a beer to get drunk. I'm drinking a beer because like I want to enjoy the flavors and the different aromas. So I'll take my time to savor it a little bit at a time. And just think about how cool it would be to be able to tell your friends when they come over and you give them a beer, yeah, I made that. Just think about the look on their faces when they ask, wait a minute, you made that beer? And you say, yeah. And then they say, wow, that's really good. Almost to the end of the spark water, guys. About another 2.5, 3 of these. And then I'll let this drain for a little bit. Then we'll get the brew kettle back up on the stove. Start heating it up. Put all the hops in, or put a chunk of the hops in. And get things moving. About another 3/4 of one of these. And we'll be good to go. Here it comes. Last of the sparge water. Too fast there. Much, much better than any other time I've done it though. That worked out really good. I'm gonna go hit the head, guys. I'll be back in a moment. Definitely going to have to wash this floor. It's getting a little sticky. All the sugars from those grains. But it's about time for us to put that back up on the stove. Put the hops in and start doing the boil. It's just about done dripping. So I'm going to go get the garbage can. Empty all these grains out into that. If you guys start doing this yourself and you know anybody who has pigs, if they raise pigs or cows, they really love this stuff as feed. But let me go get the garbage can, I'll dump this out, and then we'll get this thing back up on the stove and get rolling. What I'm going to do is put it in that other pot for now. Collect whatever drips. And then put that back into the boil kettle. You guys can get a decent idea as to how much volume we've got left in our boil kettle. Looks like we are right around 8-ish gallons, roughly. 7.5, 8, somewhere in that area. This is not going to be much fun. is on. And the heat is on. Sorry about that. Now for some hops. First wort hopping. I'll be honest, guys, I think that is the smallest amount of wort I have ever spilled since I started brewing. And I've been doing this for about 2 years now. Actually, probably even a little over that, about 2.5 years. So I'm feeling pretty good about that. Woo! Mamma mia. That is a lot of work to lift. Now I'm going to set this for 50 minutes. And when 50 minutes of boil time has gone by, I will drop, is it those hops? No, it is the spalt hops. After 50 minutes, the spalt hops are going in for 10 minutes. And another 5 minutes after that, the 2 ounces of Cascade is going in. And then at the end of the boil, shut the heat off and pour in the pound of corn sugar that I drew off, and that'll bump the ABV a little bit and dry the beer out just a tiny bit, make it a little bit more powerful. I can still hear wort coming out of those grains. Adding just a little bit more to it. Yeah, that's about 7.5 gallons. A little bit much for the start of the batch, but I can live with that. We'll just boil it a little bit longer. Get that out of the way. those spalt hops smell really good. They all do, just they all have slightly different flavors and aromas to them. Spalt has a spiciness to it that you don't get out of the Cascade hops. The Cascade hops are a little bit earthier, and they have more of like a lemony citrus flavor to them. And you know what I could really use for this session? I could really use a beer. So I think that's what I'm going to do next. Time to go to the draft system. Ta-da! Perfect. German double bock, guys. Smells oh so good. Nice malty German style beer. Very restrained with the hops. Nice sweet malt flavor. Kind of like a heavier mouthfeel than a pale ale or an IPA, but really good. I would really like to have a propane stove in here, which would make the boil go a little better, because propane stoves get hotter than the electrics. But one of the nice things about having an electric is that you know that there's not really a whole lot of chance of a boilover, because boilovers are really, really common. And they are a pain in the ass to clean. damn, that's a good beer. And I made it. All right, I think I'm about ready to dump out these grains. Take whatever wort I have down in here, pour it into the boil kettle, and continue doing it. Now, since that's about 12.5 pounds of grains plus liquid, that's going to make that trash bag pretty heavy. So even though it looks like it's only about 2/3 full, half to 2/3, I am probably going to wrap that one up and put it out on the curb. Because you put too much more in that and it's just going to blast the bottom of the bag out. I don't care how much they say it's tear proof. Well, that'll never rip. Yeah, bullshit. Not much, guys, but every little bit counts. So I am at 2 hours and 48 minutes of runtime on this live stream. And I still have the full 1 hour boil left to go. And then after that, I have to cool down the wort, filter out all of the trub as I'm putting it into the fermenter, pitch the yeast, seal it up. So we're probably going to be on here for close to another 2 hours. Don't mind me, guys, just posting to Instagram. If you haven't followed me yet, please head on over and follow me. The link is in the description. If you guys want to support the channel and possibly see some better content, there's a PayPal link there. It would be much appreciated. You can also follow me on Twitter. I think I may end this live stream and restart it just to see if maybe some people will get a notification. Maybe I can get a couple more watches over here. I will see you guys in a bit.